Welcome to GameDev Meetup 63. Unfortunately, technical difficulties as always, but I will get to chase. The first speaker is Dan Lloyd, and he will talk about our concepts that every game dev should know. Applause, please. Louder.
Hello. Hello. My name's Dan Lodge. I've been working in video games for about 10 years, primarily in visual roles, mostly in science fiction games with teams of about 30 people. I was a lead artist on a game called Strikes at Zero. It's like a space combat action game. Arcade art style. We worked with some Japanese illustrators, and we used our own engine to make that game. Then I was the art director on a game called Fracture Space, which is like a 5v5 space combat MOBA where you control these huge capital ships that are about 1.2 kilometers long, and that's more of a sort of like Hollywood industrial design kind of art style, where we're looking at films like Prometheus and Aliens and things like that. Closer to the mic, how's that? Better. And I'm currently working on this, Shikari, which is a physical card game. I'm doing the design and the art direction on that as well. And hopefully we're going to take that to Kickstarter in the next few months. So that's me. So this talk is about visual communication. And I'm hoping it appeals to more than just artists though, because visual communication is a vital part of video games. We know so much about what we know in video games because there are images being rendered to the screen which are communicating information to us. Whether it's the boundary of a level, or it's the peak of a jump animation in a platformer, or a health bar telling us we've not got much health left. So much of the information we need is visual, and so it's really important that we communicate well. So this presentation is going to show you some ways that you can improve your visual communication to the player. So there's two broad types of information that I'm going to talk about. One of them is functional information. So that's stuff like, let's say your game has a time limit. You need to know that there's a time limit and how much time you've got left. If there's a time limit and the game ends, but you didn't see the time, then you're going to feel it's unfair and you're probably not going to want to play the game. But there's also stuff like, a bit more subtle, like maybe you've got a narrative-driven game and you want to encourage the player to go to a specific place in a 3D environment. And you can use, you want that kind of information, you want to tell the player where to go. So those are examples of functional information I'm going to talk about. And the other kind of information I'm going to talk about visually communicating is narrative information or background information. So maybe you want a character's personality to shine through their costume or something, or maybe you've got a prop or a machine and you want to tell the player something about the way that that machine works visually. So I'm going to talk about those two types of information and how you can communicate them. If we're going to communicate successfully, then it's really important that we not only have something to say, we know what it is that we want to say, but it's also really important that we prioritize and focus what it is that we want to say. If we try to say too much to the player, it's a bit like trying to have a conversation with multiple people about different things at the same time. You can't do it, it's information overload. So it's really important that we don't try to say too much, as well as know what it is that we want to say. So one of the key concepts which we can use to create importance around a visual object is visual hierarchy. Visual hierarchy is the order in which, or priority in which we see or notice elements. I'm going to show you some of the ways that you can create a visual hierarchy in your games. So I've mocked up this image. It's like, imagine it's like a grayscale screenshot of a shooter game or something, or a grayscale piece of concept art. There's a bunch of elements on here that you would expect to see on a shooter, maybe. There's like an objective HUD widget with some text up there saying get to the tower. There's an ammunition widget. There's an enemy. Probably you can't see it very well. There's a crosshair and like there's a blood particle effect showing that you've shot the enemy. And there's some different terrain elements. If this was a grayscale screenshot of a game that I was working on or a concept piece, I wouldn't be very happy with this from a visual communication point of view. And I would start to use visual hierarchy to improve it. And I'll show you some of the ways that you can do that. So the most obvious way that people often think about is size. Obviously, if something is big, you see it more than if it's small. So if we go back to that image that we had before and we scale up some of these HUD elements, let's say we want the HUD elements to be more visible and higher up the visual hierarchy, then we can scale them up and they obviously become more visible. But this is quite a sort of, it's not necessarily the best way of doing it because you set yourself down a certain visual path if you do it like this. Maybe this suits like a super cartoon stylized game or a game for children or something, but for some people they might find this almost insultingly clear. And so that might not be the best option. One of the other options you've got is you can use position. Most games, there's a focus in the center of the screen, particularly with a shooter. If you've got a locked crosshair, you're kind of looking at the center of the screen all the time. So there's a lot of importance placed on things which are in the center of the screen. Conversely, if you've got things towards the edge of the screen, then they're less important. So if we go back to our example here, and we move some things towards the center of the screen, we can see that they're more noticeable. I kind of cheated a bit because I also made the get to the tower a bit bigger, so I used the two elements there. But you can see how bringing things into the center of the screen makes them more important and it raises them in the visual hierarchy. One of the, I think one of the most powerful ways that you can control visual hierarchy is using value, which is the scale from black to white and everything in between, no color. So again, I'll reset the image, but this time I'm going to use the whole spectrum of grey. Here, it's the stuff on the terrain. The terrain it pops a lot from the sky, but within the terrain, the individual elements, the cover, the path, the enemy, they don't really distinguish themselves from each other. So I'm going to use value to do that. So you can see now, although the overall screen has got a lot brighter, maybe you don't want that. But what you do get by doing that is now everything is distinct from everything. Before you couldn't see that reticule, and you couldn't see that blood particle effect. And those are really important elements to see in the context of a shooter, for example, because if you're playing a game and you shoot, you expect to get a reaction. If you can't see if you can't kind of distinguish the particle from the enemy that you're shooting at, then you're not getting that full reaction, and that's really bad. So you can use value to make sure that everything pops from everything. One of the other things you can use is saturation, which is the intensity of a colour. So that's not grayscale, that's from grey, black or white, from value to pure red or any other colour, 255 red or whatever. So in this image, I've kept the adjusted grayscale values that we had in the image before. And all I've done is add some hue, like blue, and some saturation. But I've made sure not to change the value, because that means that we've retained the work that we did to improve the clarity in the value image. If we do the grayscale part and everything's popping from everything, and then we add a blue sky, but it's actually a really dark blue sky, then we mess up the work that we've done before. So if you do the grayscale stuff and you add colour, make sure that you retain the grayscale work. So in this image, I haven't changed the darkness or brightness of the blue sky. I've just changed the saturation. And you can really see the impact that the saturation in this image has. It draws the eye. Pretty much, if you look at this image, all you can really see is the sky now. And the reason for that, well, there's two reasons. One of the reasons is because the sky is big, it's like half the image. But it was big in the image before and it wasn't dominating the image. It's because this is saturated. The sky is really saturated blue now, and that's drawing the eye. And one of the reasons it's drawing the eye is because the rest of the image is quite muted. So it's the contrast which is drawing the eye. If the whole screen, if all the colours were saturated, so here they're all muted, and so here they're all muted, and here this is very saturated. It's standing out because it's different. If everything was saturated, then it wouldn't stand out the same way. One of the other things which we don't think about very often is how detail and noise can draw the eye as well. I'm going to use an image from League of Legends to illustrate this point. Like, I'm a big fan of League of Legends, love it, just play it loads, watch it too. And if you ever play League of Legends, a 5v5 game, and you're in a team battle, it can get pretty chaotic. You know, you've got 10 people activating skills, people dashing around, all kinds of stuff's happening, and it's really easy for you to just completely lose track of what's happening. And with the original art direction for League of Legends, they really weren't doing themselves any favours, and they weren't helping you with that. Because if we look at the original Summoner's Rift level, there's so much detail on the ground. You know, you might think, oh, detail is good, and you know, the more detailed, the more next gen it is, or whatever. But it's not helping you with visual communication. You know, everything on the left is at a similar level of saturation. You don't have much contrast in the saturation. Even the browns are quite orange, saturated browns. The greens, the blues, the browns, everything is up towards that sort of 70, 80% saturation. So there's the starting point for our design work. That could be really useful. We can combine those to make more complex shapes or more accurate depictions of what it is that we want to show in our games. Something which is often forgotten if you're not a 2D artist is the hardness of an edge. It's a really important part of the shape. You know, we've got fuzzy, soft image on the right, and then to the left we've got a much harsher, bolder, stronger shape. Sticking with lines as well, we often talk about curves or sharp angles. And I could go on kind of describing all the properties of shapes and show how there's these kind of scientific or geometrical, mathematical descriptions of shapes. But what I actually want to do is make the point that images can communicate more than mathematical ideas. Pretty much any idea that you can communicate verbally or through text, you can communicate visually, you can stack, you can shatter, you can do any of these things. And when you start to understand that, you start to use that, you can start to communicate with visuals in the same way that you can communicate with words, which is really useful. So for example, we can have a friendly or a dangerous shape. We can have a static fluid shape or a heavy or light shape. Like I say, pretty much anything, any word used to describe something, you can probably describe it visually too. So I did some work in China and Japan a few years ago, and communication was really difficult over there. There were 3 languages being spoken, there were translators. Often the translator didn't speak English very well, or they weren't artists. Usually they weren't artists, so kind of using the ways that I communicate to teams in the UK were just not open to me. So one of the things that I did to try and improve communication there was create word maps for key design tasks. On the game over there is another science fiction game. There were like 3 different empires which were like engaged in intergalactic war or something. And the creative director decided to define each different empire by kind of political philosophy. So there was a monarchy, the king and the dukes and the subjects, and then there was a democratic republic, and then there was like a collection of tribes, which were more of an alliance than an empire. And what I did was I created these word maps with loads of descriptive words on. This one's not a very good one, but you can make a much more expansive one. And then I'd sit down with the key people, and we'd start to circle descriptions. And the point of this was that the guys that I were working with weren't necessarily very visual people. They were used to describing things in words. And so by going through this process, which was really quick and really easy, I was able to start isolating ways of communicating what the creative direction and design team saw as the empires, and I was able to translate that from words to images. And we did that for both, for all the empires. And it's really interesting because if you do this for multiple kind of competing, in this case we have 3 empires, I'm going to illustrate it with 2, but if you've done it with 2 empires, you can overlay that on top of each other, and then you can start to see where they overlap, and you can ensure that you've got some contrast. You know, if you've got 3 factions and 2 of them are choosing symmetrical, then maybe you're thinking actually we need to find some ways to distinguish them a bit more, because as we were discussing before, for the purposes of communication, contrast is really important. So I've talked a lot about contrast, because it's, you know, we've all played games where you're fighting a minion or something and it's blue, and then you've been fighting for like an hour or something, and then you get to the next level, and then you're fighting the same minion, except it's not blue anymore, it's red. And that's really underwhelming. And then you come across like an actual change, something super different, and it's really fresh and good. And that's just one example of like why contrast is really good, apart from the other examples. But in the same sentence, like you can have too much contrast as well. And if you have so much contrast of things that feel like the same part of the world, or they jump, you know, things just don't go sometimes and they jar. I want to avoid that, and that's where consistency comes in. So I'm going to talk briefly about consistency. Sticking with the 3 like empires I was talking about working on in China, let's say these 3 circles are represent the empires. If we look at them right now as representations of the empires, they're doing a pretty poor job. They're very consistent, they're exactly consistent, and that's not giving us the contrast that we want. So then it creates contrast, like by giving them a separate primary primitive shape. Like maybe, you know, there's a reason why we've chosen these primitive shapes, and that's communicating something about each empire. We keep going, we can add colour. And that's good. We're still contrasting, and we're not too jarring. And I think maybe you can even go so far as this. You know, maybe you've got all kinds of reasons why you're starting to use this visual language to communicate something. You know, the triangle. It's a triangle because there's a guy at the top. The power is the guy at the top. There's only one guy, and everybody else is towards the bottom. So that's why you're using a triangle. Except the power structure is struggling. So that's why you're using these fractured images. Red means dangerous, colour passion, or whatever. You've got a whole load of communication happening there, and you've got the same reasoning for why you've made all these visual decisions for each empire. I'd have like one question maybe about that, the smudge of the yellow square, because it's creating a soft edge, whereas everything else is a hard edge. And maybe that's good for contrast, but like, if we're talking about consistency, that's something that I'm keeping my eye on. So I'll take it one step further. Like now I've introduced a whole load more visual ideas, like, you know, in the central image I've introduced texture, like a noisy texture. Maybe I've done that for a reason, like maybe it's because actually the Central Empire's technology is in disrepair and we want to damage it. And, you know, I've changed this blue one, maybe I've changed it to blue because like that empire is in a really cold part of the universe, and so it makes sense to change it. But the thing is, it's really jarring. It doesn't work so well. Whereas here, it's like there's a certain amount of consistency. They all started as primitive shapes. They're all warm colours. they all use flat colour. When we move to the next one, we're losing some of the things which kept them as a set. You know, suddenly we're using all these different rendering techniques. We've got the gradient, we've got the noise, the colour. There's no colour. There's no sort of rule to the colour anymore. I think this is a good example of like where we've gone too far. We've introduced too many visual elements, and things have become chaotic and not consistent. Easy ways to fix this is to just pick one of those ideas and roll them out across all of them. And maybe what you want to do is, okay, so we're going to have a textured world, everything's going to be textured, but we can just make the guy in the middle who's originally textured, he's like more in disrepair than the others. And same, you could use gradients or whatever. So to conclude, I've tried to make a case for the importance of thinking about communication and communicating visually. A really good way to manage the importance of objects is visual hierarchy. We can use shape language to do more than communicate the importance of an object. We can describe it in the same way that we can describe things with words. And lastly, all these things we need to be aware of contrast and consistency. So I've been Dan Lodge. I don't know if there's time for questions, presumably. Hey?
Regarding featured space, do you feel like you achieved everything there that you mentioned? Or do
Definitely
you feel
not.
like there are certain shortcomings?
Yeah. Like I did the pre-production for Factory Space. I took it to early access. So I did the original concept art. I kind of established a bunch of things, but definitely not. Yeah, like I've not been at Edge Case for 4 years now, so it's changed a lot since I've been there. And I would have a field day with someone else's deal now. So.
Basically, okay, just a pitch for me. When you were showing the empire forms, and one had the texture, like grainy texture, the previous didn't have it. You've also changed the color of the circle, but we're not talking about the left circle at all, so I was just wondering.
Oh yeah, so what I was saying with the circle was that I changed the colour, maybe for the reason that like maybe it's blue and it's cold because that empire is in the cold part of the universe, or maybe the sun's dying or something. But the point I was trying to make was that I made a decision with good communication. I wanted to communicate something. But the thing is, it was jarring with the rest of the set because originally it was a set of warm images, and maybe that's what this world was. Maybe it was like a really warm world, and this was one of the things I was using to keep it consistent. And by making something cold, like it does add contrast, but with that particular set of images, maybe it was adding too much contrast.
Okay. And one more question. When you are starting to work on a new project, do you have some sort of a checklist when you design the art?
More so now, like when I went to China, which was after Factory Space, I actually created guides with value ranges and saturation ranges for each team, just as a guide. Like, you know, they wouldn't stick to it completely, but I basically said the UI and the visual effects teams had to use the darkest and brightest and the most saturated colours, because those things were always going to pop broadly. And I wanted the environment to primarily be using like darker, like dark, mid to dark, and sort of. You can see what I'm trying to say. Like, yeah, I created broad guides for the sort of value and saturation that each team should be using, so that when they came into the game, everything would naturally stand out. Yep.
Do you make some palettes to use when you do something?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's really useful. It's a good thing for consistency because I've worked like Strikes at Zero, it was all about red versus blue, and like the thing is, different artists would use different reds and different blues. You know, like really different blues. Like we'd have this kind of tropical blue for half the game, and then an artist would check something in, it would be this kind of like normal map or purpley blue. It's like, guys, it's completely different. So yeah, I think making a colour palette, sending it around and constantly saying, oh, use this blue, please. It creates that consistency, which is good.
One more question about palettes. Do you use it in different projects or just
Nah, I think each project deserves its own palette, and because you know the tone. If the tone was the same, then maybe I might share some of the ideas. But you know, if you're making like gritty games over and over again, then you'll get good at using gritty palettes. But still, it'd be good to kind of spice them up, because quite often you'll find that. Like, one of my favourite parts of starting a new game is doing the initial research. So if I'm making a new genre, like I'm working on a card game at the moment, I'm looking at loads of card games, and I'm trying to find things, because I was saying contrast is good, and I think contrast is good from like a market perspective as well. You know, if like my card game's a science fiction game, it's because most card games are fantasy games. And I think it's the same with colours. If you do some analysis, some like research at the beginning of the game, and you're making a shooter game, and you look at that's a bad example because there's so many games in that genre. But if there's like if you find you're working in a niche and like everyone's using the same kind of colours, you might actually want to consider using different colours because you stand out. Yep.
You mentioned all the contracts and stuff. How does that even fit into a space game such as Fractured Space? I mean, I played Fractured Space and it's not at all cartoony. It tries to be somewhat realistic in its palette. So, how do you fit into that?
Yeah, so I think I would. So I think what you're saying is that like Fractured Space is trying to be more realistic, and so like very designed decisions kind of counteract that. Well, what we were trying to do with Fractured Space, which I didn't get to fully implement because I moved on, but I'd be looking more at films. If you look at films, the way films are good films, which are shot really well, manage contrast so excellently. You know, they don't just have one light, it's not naturalistically lit. Most Hollywood films, for example, have all kinds of bouncing lights to pick things off, they have edge lighting, and the reason they're doing that is to ensure that the visual hierarchy is clear. They don't want you looking at a mug on the table when it's about the character's face or whatever.
Yeah, I was thinking more in terms of factions. Because, I mean...
Yeah, so there's a different philosophy with Fractured Space a little bit. Fractured Space was about trying to create something which was realistic. So each of the factions were based off different real-world industrial objects. So I wanted the NASA guys. I basically borrowed realism from things that you already know. So you know NASA space technology. So I used that to create these different ships. And when you saw the details from NASA, you think, oh, it's kind of realistic. I can kind of believe that. And the other examples, so they weren't NASA technology. We created contrast by using different real-world references. So we used NASA, we used aircraft carriers, and we used like oil rigs and construction machinery. So those are all things which you would have seen and you'll perceive as believable. And for each of those manufacturers, we're borrowing that like believability. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I'm not sure how that fits into the idea that different factions should be visually
distinctive. Well, there's all kinds of ways that you can create contrast. You know, you don't have to use value or colour. You know, you probably, if you choose to make the colour consistent throughout the game, you could potentially do that. I use other things. So, like in the case of Fractured Space, yeah, we use real-world references to create contrast rather than necessarily rely on contrast. That said, I mean, I was working on that like 4 years ago or something, so give me a break. I didn't finish it. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you. Without further ado, the next speaker is Vladimir Slav, and he will talk about finding a job in GameDev. Applause, please.
Hi. So actually, the thing is, I'm not going to talk about it, and it's mostly about you going to talk about it. The thing is, there was a lot of, like, not a lot of questions, there were some questions from people how to get into the industry and what should you be looking for. So I was wondering if some of you can answer some of the questions that I prepared. Let's make it a free discussion. I ask the question, then somebody answers, or if you don't answer, then I answer it, because I know the answers, some answers. Basically, if that's okay, can you go, Madara, can you call Maurice here, like is here somewhere there? Yeah, I'll call him here. Like, it's okay. Maurice is going to be answering all the programming questions that I'll be throwing at you. And is Maurice there? Like, yeah, come here. Yeah, you beautiful person, come here. Basically, I just wanted to, like, two of you guys, because I know you're not very stressed when I ask questions. So, no, I don't want to warn you, because then I just want some honest things. Like, first of all, even it's okay if I ask you, Maurice. Like, first of all, should you actually try to get into game dev industry? Because we know that even though the game dev industry is one of the fastest growing industries, like right now, the salaries for the programmers in the industry compared to like corporate programmers are just lower. Do you think I should be trying to get into the industry if I'm in for the money or not?
I think mostly if you like games, you should get into the game industry. But if you don't care about games, probably should go do something else.
So basically,
that's my opinion.
Like, anyone else wants to contribute to this? All right. Well, basically, that's the consensus on the internet too. If you're in for the money, then nobody like suggests you going into the game industry for the programming purposes. If you just plan to program, but yes, if Elvis can edit, go ahead. Come here. I can bring the microphone.
The first thing you should really consider is whether you want to turn your hobby into work. You can get really stressed out and burned out, and you will hate developing games forever. So be prepared for that. So maybe, I don't know what kind of new people are here, but maybe David as a hobby. But if you are really passionate about it, then just go on and you should work and maybe a part-time job, because you have to live also. Don't do it, like, don't waste your life because of games. There was Pauli in the previous meetup, and he said that he sacrificed everything, like yes, his family and his like personal life just for the game development. So you should consider really, do you want to do that?
Just to build up on Elvis' latest comment, you can fuck up your life by being a web dev or C++ dev too by not allocating your time properly.
My idea was, if it's your hobby, then you will probably do it 24/7. So think about that. And if you are actually working on your own games, then don't do it 24/7. Just do it 8 hours a day, and then go drink some beer or something.
Well, thank you. And to add to Marius' comments, like, you can fuck up your life as a web dev, but then you'll have all the money to wipe the tears like away. I think.
Unless you're a slicer.
Right. And basically, I just wanted to ask you guys, what mattered the most when you applied for your first job, or were you just looking for the company to work on? If that's okay.
In web dev?
No, I mean,
I mean, in game dev?
what do you think? What actually?
Your portfolio, I think. I have a high education, but nobody ever asked me. I could be like straight out of kindergarten, nobody would care.
So now this is a programmer. Like, where are you working like now?
I'm working at something as a game programmer for about a year now, almost.
Was it your first programming job?
No, previously I worked as a programmer at MapSword for about 2 years. Nobody ever asked me that, so I guess your portfolio is the most important thing, because in my experience, people always ask, like, hey, what have you worked on before? What is your job experience? Stuff like that. So yeah.
Full disclosure, I've had a normal job just once in my life, so my experience might be not the right one. But yeah, like for freelancing and such, nobody cares about your education. My education is as a like I finished computer sciences in University of Latvia, but I'm a 2D game artist. And nobody has ever asked for like 2D game artist education or anything. I finished a little bit. I finished the first level. The second level is not important. It's boring. But yeah, basically show your work, and most likely you will get hired even if you don't have the education. People care about what you can do and what time period you can do.
So yeah, about that, I think that was the reason why I asked like two of you, because there's like one of you is a more traditional programming guy, and the other is a freelancing artist. So yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. But one of the things about the higher education, I think, for me, in my case, I've never had like a normal game dev job. This full disclosure, but in my case, it just gave me some of the security. When things didn't go as when I planned, I just could roll back and just work as a normal programmer in the corporate stuff while continue to looking for something. So I'd say if you have a portfolio already and you're looking for a higher education, you can reconsider it, and not reconsider it, but think about it whether you really need it. But if you're just starting out, I think higher education is do it until you find something better, I guess, in that regard.
Definitely. It's easier to learn if you have some course to follow.
Yeah, I think
the university gives that to you.
Yeah, university kind of taught me how to learn and just gave me some connections. Like, I know you from the university. So, and if I can ask then, what about the art side of things? What if I'm an artist and I want to get employed in the company? Can you contribute something to that? Can you suggest?
Yeah, I was saying, because the experience that I have with the companies that I've had, the coders, they really do care about the education. Like, they were super highly educated, the coders, and our team, they had like master's degrees and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's because the studios that I worked at were very code driven, and the code team were like the bosses, basically. And they had loads of really tricky code tests, math tests, and they were really hot on that side. But for the artists, yeah, no, like, I mean, I think it sometimes shows when someone's studied art to a great degree because they employ a lot of fundamental understanding in their work. But at the end of the day, if you can paint great paintings or you can model great models, then the chances are you can get hired. But from my team.
Alright. Thank you very much. Like a small pause if anyone wants to ask a question or just answer or to comment to anything. Anyone? Like, sure. Go ahead. Yanis, can you pass the mic?
So, if I want to go for a game dev and really enjoy it, should I go for an enterprise or some small groups or startup?
It depends on what you want to work on. Plus,
pass the mic.
It really depends on what you want to work on and what you have available in your region. Basically, like in Riga, if you want to stay in Riga and work only in studios in Riga, you will have to go to smaller semi-indie studios in Moldova, most likely. If you're willing to relocate, you can get a job in bigger companies. They are probably safer if the project is longer, I guess. But if you're freelancing, then fuck it, just work for whoever hires you.
Yeah, but to freelance, you need something behind your back, right? Or not?
Are you starting out, or are you trying to just yeah? Then I guess at the moment, just go for the smaller Latvian studios if you're willing to have like not the greatest of the salaries, and after that build upon it, and you will find places where you want to work for.
Yeah, sure. That's
What if you're already a programmer in corporate side, but not game programmer? What then? If you want to.
You'll take a bacon.
No, I mean, should you go for the same startups in Riga, indie studios, or should you go for the bigger?
It depends on you. Like, if you're willing to relocate and if the bigger studios hire you, you will definitely get bigger salary and it will be better. Like in Latvia, the salary is not big. if you just want to work in game studios in Riga are pretty good, and there are some international ones that are like top of the mobiles, like the same game inside that are sponsoring us, like they have an office here, and then some others like Esdote and stuff. And if you're really hardcore, you can freelance.
So you can freelance even as a person who hasn't ever made like real games.
Yes, you can. But you have to be willing to work for almost no money until you prove yourself and get like some kind of client stream.
Yeah, I'm going to pass the mic in a second. One more thing, like if you're looking for something specific, when I was like 4 years ago, when I was looking for something, I know that Sweden has this big EA division office, and they often hire junior positions for the programmers. I don't know if it's okay with you or not, but I think this is the corporate thing that is most closest to us, and yeah, Finland is a bit like, okay, yeah, whatever. I just don't know if Finland had. I don't know if Finland had something like AAA-ish, but I just looked for Sweden when I was looking for something, and Sweden had a lot of entry-level positions at that time. So I'm passing the microphone to Yanis.
Can you pass? Yeah, no.
Just commenting on the last question. If you're transitioning from web dev or corporate dev, whatever dev, into game dev, you just have to be ready that you're going to be treated as a junior. You will be a junior dev in game dev because it's a completely different thing. And well, I mean, that's not to say that your knowledge from corporate dev or web dev or whatever dev is going to be useless in game dev. It's going to be very useful, but you're still going to be completely junior dev there.
Thanks. Anyone else has the questions or like? Okay, sure.
Yeah.
I can
Go ahead.
is there any list of game development studios available?
In Latvia. Well, basically, there's a really like.
Are you in the Latvian Game Dev Association?
Basically, there's an internal list that we have, as far as I know, but I've never seen it to be honest. Like, they've sent it to me. Yes. Confession time. But there's a very poor list on the GameDevMap.com. Like this is the closest one, but there are only 5 companies. Yeah. So in that regard, I think we'll actually need to publish the list somewhere. I think if we can take something from this discussion, then we need to make a list of those things.
Or just ask around here and people will direct towards people who will be more appropriate for you.
I'm going to ask the programming part right now. What do you think were the key skills for somebody who's trying to get the programming job in game dev?
If you can answer this question or not.
Don't write shit code. Just don't do it.
Go ahead.
Because then I have to fix like the worst part of the job, like fixing shit code.
Personally,
All code.
basically for me, when I look for somebody to like contract stuff to, for me it's important if that person knows like source and version control like systems, like Git, Sven, whatever, just know something and like some knowledge of patterns, like knowing what a listener is, what callback thing is. I think this is important. There's this, there's this book on game development patterns on the internet. Like, okay, there's a free book on game development patterns. This is super famous on the internet. You can read it, and it's super useful actually. What? No, okay. What did you say? Company made?
I mean, the same patterns are applied to game development.
Yeah, but okay. Do you know what a flyweight pattern is?
The what?
Flyweight pattern. Yeah, that's the game development pattern. I don't know what it is too. I just saw it in the table of contents. No, I know what it is. Don't worry. Basically, and the last one, I guess, for the flooding purposes, not flooding, like for the off topic a bit, but do you guys think there are some games like somebody who's trying to get into the industry must absolutely play, or it's not relevant?
It really depends on what kind of game you want to make. So if you want to make something like, say, a platformer, you should definitely play the original Super Mario Bros. Because the first level is a tutorial, but nobody ever knows that it's a tutorial. And it teaches you all the game elements that you need to know for the rest of the game. Actually, a lot of old 16 and 8-bit games do this, like, say, the Mega Man series do this. So I guess play all of those. Yeah, and more recently, you should most likely play Super Meat Boy if you want to make platforming games. And on the most popular platforming games, really. But then if you want to make like FPS games, you should probably just play the most popular or the most well-known game of the genre that you want to make the game in. So for FPS, that would be like Doom, or Half-Life, puzzle game, Tetris, whatever. You get the idea.
Anyone?
Let's just do all.
Great.
The panel. Play all the games you enjoy, and when you get tired, if you have the time. If you don't, then don't. But play games. But when you get hired by a studio, play more than a few games in the genre they're making. Because you will be making the games in that genre, and it will be important for you to know how that, the whole thing functions and how people play it. If you just start making game, you know nothing about it. You'll be like, what the shit. Basically, yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, like from a business perspective, there's been like quite a big change in the types of games which are being made now. Like games used to be seen as a product. You'd make the game and then you'd sell it, and that was the end of it. If it did well, you'd make a sequel. But these days, many more games are being made not as a product but as a service. And if you're interested in kind of developing a games business now, it's really important that you consider games as a service. Because it's quite a different thing. You're not just making your thing and then releasing it to the world. You're actually engaging with the community all the time. It's like open development. You have to engage with the community. You have to take the feedback. You have to keep updating regularly. It's a bit like being a YouTuber in some ways. So I think if you're not clued up on games as a service, then I would recommend you play some games as a service and really get to understand that.
Thank you. Basically, yeah, I think if you want to get into the studio, then just play some of their games at the very least, so you know what we're going to do. Apart from that, I think I'm all out of the questions. So if anyone else wants to ask something, now is a good time. Like, speak now or stay silent forever. Great.
I want to ask on the art side about specialization versus generalization.
I have such mixed feelings about this, and I've flip-flopped my whole career. Because I think to begin with, particularly if you want to get to a big studio, you have to specialise. You just can't be good at everything. You're better off picking what it is that you're good at and that you like, and really getting AAA quality at that if you want to work at a big studio. I think at the same time, I've worked in a lot of kind of medium-sized studios with less than 100 people and sort of 30 to 100 people or whatever. And with those teams, when the art teams like 10 guys, if everyone's super specialist, it's really difficult. Like I've had times where I've hired some amazing modeler, such a good modeler, but then I'm away on holiday or something, and then they come to him and they ask him to just make a change to a particle effect, and he literally melts down. And that's really not very useful. And so from being in a position where I used to love trying to hire specialists in each area, now actually, particularly on smaller teams, and maybe like indie teams, I want people who do, I really value like a generalist who can kind of like just get in there and generally do stuff, even if they're not the best in the world at it. It's really useful from a project perspective to have people who can do a bit of everything. Depends. If it's going to be indie studios, they might be into being a generalist, but I think the surefire way of getting hired is becoming like top dog at a specific thing.
I do agree, and from like perspective of working with small freelancing teams, it's like how it's goes is for me at least. Be good at or at least bad at everything, but know about everything more or less. And especially with one thing and parallel work on another thing, like to get better at another thing. Like how I get most of my freelance work is I do cutesy 2D art for mobile games. And that's the specific reason why people hire me. And they hire me because they know I'm good at it, and if the need comes up to do something else and I can do it, it's good. If not, well, tough shit, but you will be at least gotten hired for the first reason why you got hired. Like, you can do one thing very, very good. But being generalist is very good because it expands your skill set, and you might find something that you like more than the thing you're doing. Like, and that's one another thing like you can consider. So that answers your question.
I have something to add actually, because like I've got kind of like a philosophy on UI artists. Like I only hire motion designers now because games, like the value of like I used to hire a flat graphic designer and then I'd get like visual effects guys to do the animation, but it's so much better when you've got like a graphic designer who can use After Effects and can really like take control and ownership over the UI. The quality of it leaps dramatically, and so I think particularly with that role, it's really good to have. And I think generally, if you do like Maris was saying, like if you have some understanding of lots of things, then you're not locked up. Like you're not like, oh, that's someone else's job, I don't know anything about that. You can kind of like take what you're good at a bit further. You can try stuff, and you know, there's so many concept artists. Here's another thing. Actually. So I said that about graphic designers. Actually, I prefer working with concept artists who use 3D as well now. This is so much easier. You know, we can work on a block out 3D model. We can agree on that, and then if actually I change my mind and we need to change the angle of the image, we can just re-render the image and start drawing on top of it. 3D is so useful for concept art now. So I think so many jobs, although the end product is like a UI design or a piece of concept art, they're using lots of different skills to produce that these days. I recommend it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, then I suppose. Okay, one more question from me. Any suggestions how to find freelance stuff? Like, how do I find a freelance job? If you don't mind sharing your secrets with us.
Don't be shit at your job. Because be good at your job and more or less be persistent in your searching. Like when you first start off, it will be shit, it will feel like a desert or something like that. Unless you already have some connections that are throwing like freelance work towards you. But if you start from zero, you will need to spend a few months building up some emails, some conversations with some potential clients, and basically it comes down to being persistent and having some backup money to not die like until you build up some basic clientele, and then be good at your job and be not punctual but be consistent with, at least within 1 week. Like don't let your clients hang in. Like those three things I think kind of most important.
Yanis, if you can. Yeah, don't worry. Pass it to the left. Great, thank you.
If you want to find a GameDev job, don't underestimate the effect of networking. Because a lot of, say, indie startups, they don't look at the general job market for their hires. They look amongst people they know, for people that might help them, regardless of their skill level. And actually, where to find them? Just go on Reddit, go on Twitter, go on all the fucking game developer forums. Just post your thing. Somebody will answer.
Yeah, just want to
Parting money.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that joining a community and just trying to improve your craft works wonders. And as an anecdotal experience, I just started posting on Twitter, and not through networking, but just through pure luck, clients come to me because I'm guessing that I'm at a quite good level, that they are interested in my product, so they come to me and hire me. But to get to those clients and have them see my work, I've joined the community, and through that community, the clients see my work. So that's sort of my strategy. Not to go to the clients, but the clients come to me. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. So basically, I think this is it for today. From my side. If you have any like other questions, I'm sure you guys don't mind if somebody approaches you and you ask. Yeah, like just network, as Yannis said. Great advice. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for answering, and thank you for your comments. Applause to yourselves.
Thank you, Vladimir. Yeah, this was almost about it. And now, Elvis with news announcements, as always. Elvis! Okay, Mars first, go.
More reminder or announcement. It depends if you read the emails and shit. This Saturday on the 11th, we have the GameDev summer relaxation kebab party. In Salzgill with some shashlik, some relaxation, some swimming, some tents, some blah blah blah. If you're interested in joining, just come to me. I'll add you to the event. I'll give you the details and just let's relax on in 2 days, 3 days. Yes. The gyno? What? The gyro?
What?
What gyro?
What?
You said
Kebab. Do you know that shashlik is basically kebab, like in Arabian? Yeah, but there most likely will be no gyros or gynos. Maybe some gynos.
And now Elvis. Applause, please. Come on.
Hello, I'm Elvis, and I'll take a few minutes of your time. So, we don't have any new members this month, so the spot 80 is still free. So if you want to be 80, just send your application. And you know where to get more information about application. So the next we had the GameDev Showcase. It was the last Wednesday, and we plan to make another one before the Game On, so stay tuned. And it was fun, so you can just join these events and show your games and ask others to play, or if you don't have anything to show, just play others' games. Then we had the booth in Unicorn, so we had 9 games. All of them were pretty playable. Actually, they were really good. This was like the best Unicorn booth ever. Also, Unicorn had around 4,000 attendees. That's the record for them, and they're growing really rapidly. Yeah, so I have a Unicorn t-shirt, cool swag. And yeah, so they're growing 500 people every year. So it was 3.5 last year, and now it's 4,000. And the next meetup is on September 12th. See you there. And thanks to the team for having cool speakers. The next one will be really cool. Hope you will be here. And yeah, we have the GameDev party this Saturday. So hope to see you there. And the last thing is the game. So, is everybody ready? Let's start with a classical one. This will be maybe not too well-known game. There will be two pictures, and combining them will give you the name of the game. This will be maybe a bit hard, maybe not. So 3, 2, 1. Yes, Dead Cells. Yes. Yeah, Dead Cells.
Did you read about the controversy that the reviewer plagiarized another reviewer's video of Dead Cells?
Nope. I think if anybody has me on Steam as a friend, then maybe you can guess from that because I played it a few hours. So the next one will be something new. Let's try something new again. It will be an object from the game. It will be zoomed in, and you will have to say the name of the game. And you have to say the full name of the game. I will not accept part of it. So let's go. Don't look here. So, okay, I will move here. So 3, 2, 1, go.
Sonic Hedgehog.
Yes, Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah, it's from here. Okay, this one was easy. The next one will be a bit harder. So yeah, so you get 3 beers. You both of you. And so the last one will be again a zoomed in place, but this will be a bit harder, and I'm waiting the full name of the game. So 3, 2, 1.
Legend of Zelda.
Yes. Yep. Okay. You get the beer. So it's Legend of Zelda, and it's this place. Okay, that was really, really quick. I thought it would take longer, but okay. So congratulations, and see you next time.